Hey, brothers and sisters. So today I want to ask you, what are you afraid of? So if you look at Psalms 91:5, it says that you will not be afraid of the terrors by day or the arrows that fly by night. Because, guys, we abide in the shelter of the Almighty. I know that some of you have had things spoken to your heart by the Lord, things that He has asked you to do, but you're fearful. You're afraid of what other people will think. You're afraid of the situations. You're just generally afraid. Some of you may even be afraid of the enemy. But I want to encourage you to walk in authority. So if you look at Job 2, verses 5 through 6, it says this: Satan is basically going to God, and he's like, God, I want to wreak havoc on Job. I want to do some things in his life, mess him up, and see if he'll curse you, God. And God says, fine, do whatever you want, but you must spare his life. When you read that, you realize that even the enemy has to go to God for permission. We all fall under the authority of God. And so the enemy can only do what God will allow him to do. Don't be afraid to go out in the streets and prophesy or preach or lay hands on the sick, because remember, the enemy can only do what God will allow him to do. You are wonderfully and perfectly made in God's image. You are chosen. You are the head and not the tail. You are from a royal priesthood. And I want to encourage you to walk in that authority, walk in that power, walk in that dominion. You have a fiery ring of protection around you. Everywhere you go, you have angels that are dispatched to be with you, to protect you. I remember one time I was supposed to give this prophetic word in church, and I was kind of new to the prophetic. And I was like, oh my gosh, Lord, I can't believe you're asking me to speak in front of all of these people. That's scary. And so I held my tongue. I didn't do it. I wasn't obedient. And then a few minutes later, this lady stood up in church and she gave the same prophetic word that I was supposed to give. And I was like, but I was supposed to do that, God. And so what I want to encourage you is this. Listen, if you're afraid to walk in the call that God has for you, God will give that call to someone else. I don't want to see that happen to you. I want to see you walk in authority. I want to see you walk in power and dominion and not fear the terrors by night or the arrows that come by day. I want to encourage you to step out in faith. Rip that Band-Aid off. It's not scary, because once you do, you'll realize that God has your back 100%. When you're walking in righteousness, when you're walking according to His will and His way, guys, the prayers of the righteous availeth much, and God hears you from heaven. So I want to encourage you, go out, be bold, and walk in authority for Jesus.